Can you get me the Greg Olsen looks like from previous generations to see if he wants?
I've seen that. I've actually seen that.
Okay. Put a smile on your face.
Which one?
I love it. I love that. I love good humor.
Which one is the one
Even
that you
if I'm
like?
the brunt of it. Man, I've seen people that think I look like that guy with like the neck roll. He's like an actor or something. Dexter. I've seen that a lot. seen a lot of them.
Are you noticing that
all
people?
In good fun.
Are you noticing that a lot of people who aren't as good at this broadcasting thing and color analyst thing are making a whole lot of money that you're not making because you've gotten very good at this game very fast?
I've been noticing the contracts. Yes. We'll see how it all works out. It's a wild world right now, man. I mean, you guys know it. It's a lot of moving pieces. There's a lot of money. There's a lot of guys up for jobs. It's interesting. That's for sure.
What's the feedback you've gotten? I always admire the athletes who get into broadcasting and then apply themselves to broadcasting the way they applied themselves meticulously to being great at their sport, where they turn into something competitive, and it's a point of pride to make sure that they're good as an analyst. Did you surprise yourself with the amount of great feedback you got this year because it jumped off the screen that you knew what you were talking about and that you were doing it very well?
You know, I have this, and in a lot of things it's very good, and in a lot of things it's also very exhausting. But I have really just this only way of doing things is like full tilt. I mean, if you ask my wife, I probably drive her crazy. It doesn't matter if it's how I run my kids' baseball team or how I try to do my own career or how I try the broadcasting thing. Like, I'm just a big believer. Like, if you're going to do it, you might as well do it and give it everything you got and be good at it. You know, I never really set out to have people tell me I was good or whatnot. I thought I would be good. I thought I always saw the game and always enjoyed talking the game. And I knew as long as I enjoyed it and as long as I was, you know, the way I came across was authentic and people knew I was real. They might not have liked what I said or agreed how I said it, but I think there's like an authenticity that you want to try to be true to yourself and the way you see it, call it. And I think it maybe sounded a little different than other broadcasts. It felt a little different. Maybe it was a little less predictable, a little more, I don't know, different, I guess. And I didn't try to do anything particular. I just tried to be me and see things and call things how I saw them. And that was the result.
Give me the things that you make your wife crazy, the most extreme all-in things that drive your wife nuts because she knows her husband, she loves her husband, but he's a lunatic.
Yeah, I've always said, like, my obsessive nature about my career was always very good to play professional sports, right? Every morning you woke up till the morning, when you woke up in the morning till you went to bed and put your head down at night, like, your mind was always on it. You were always trying to find what was everybody else doing, what was your competition doing, did you work out enough, you ate like crap, you're getting fat, whatever. Like, I would obsess over it all, and it was beneficial. But then in your home life, your wife wants you to go sleep outside, she thinks you're crazy, so it's just, I don't know. It's not. I've gotten a lot better at being a little bit more easygoing around the house than I was when I was doing my career. And retirement's been nice, and that's why the broadcasting thing has been good, because it's allowed me to be like hyper OCD and drive towards something and kind of get my fix. And then when I'm home, I've kind of checked those boxes. I've filled that bucket, and I can kind of take a deep breath and back up a little bit.
What kind of youth baseball manager are you? Do you yell at the umps? Have you been kicked out of games? Like, what are you doing there, Olsen?
No, I'm not an ump yeller.
Okay.
I'm not an ump yeller. And so I have two rules. So I only talk to my kids, like, not my own kids. I mean, like, the kids on my team.
Right.
If I'm coaching the team, those kids are my utmost responsibility. I do not go out of my way to talk to the other coaches. I mean, I say hello and whatnot, but like, if they want to yell at the umps, I let them be. If they want to, however they want to act, I let them be. I coach my kids to the fullest. I'm hard on them. I demand that they do it the right way. Like, we do it. This is one of my obsessive things that not everyone agrees with. Like, I believe if we're going to do it, we might as well teach them the right way, right? My one rule is, if the other coach talks to my kids or in any sort of disrespectful or, you know, one-off comment or makes it, that's where I draw the line. And then I'm going to go after them and I'm going to shut it down quick. Like, I am not looking to fight with coaches. I definitely don't want to fight with umpires. I don't argue calls. I don't run on the field and complain. But if I've had a few times where the opposing coach has said something to one of my kids, or made a comment out loud that I just took as disrespectful. And that's when I jumped, because I am not, those kids are my responsibility. I take great pride in that, and I'm not going to let anyone disrespect them. Past that, I coach my kids, you coach your kids, and we'll see how it comes at the end.
He's tackling some of this stuff in a new podcast, Youth Inc., the first podcast from Audiorama. It's a journey into the changing world of youth sports in America. So I will ask you two questions. What is your most controversial opinion about how to correctly coach kids with toughness? But before I get the answer to that question, give me the story, the specifics and the details of what made Greg Olsen charge across a diamond, the former tight end of the Carolina Panthers, and make a dad shit himself on the spot because you were enraged at the disrespect.
All right. So I remember, I'm glad you asked. I was kind of hoping you asked, because it's a really good story. And so it was like 8-year-old baseball. And and I know this sounds crazy to everybody, but like there is such thing as competitive 8-year-old baseball in America. And my older son was doing it. So this was 2-3 years ago. And we were playing a team. It was in North Carolina. It was like a local little tournament. And it was actually my own son was at first base, and they hit back-to-back balls into the outfield. And what does every single kid do at 8 years old? If you're the first baseman and the ball gets hit, what do? You run and you stand on first base. They didn't know yet about if there's no infield play, you got to get, trail behind the runner and get out of the base path in case the kid wants to go to second. Okay. So my kid goes and he plants his feet on second base. The ball's in right field, and their runner had to, understandably so, like avoid him at first base, and he got thrown out at second. And fairly, he did get interfered by my kid at first base. So the umpires come out, we talk about it. I saw it happen, and I was like, I'll correct it. So I said, hey, Tate, it just happened to be my kid. I was like, hey, Tate, you can't be on first base now when the ball, there's no play. Okay. So literally the next batter, the kid hits it again into the outfield, and my kid does the exact same thing. Mind you, he's 7, 8 years old. Their kid runs, avoids. So the same thing happened, but there's no play. Their coach is now standing on, I can picture it, on first base dugout, along the dugout. He walks like towards the base path, and he yells to his kid now who got a double. He's on second base. Hey, Johnny, next time he's there, just run him over. So I called time.
Oh,
I said,
boy.
Time.
Oh, no.
And I walked out into the middle of the dugout.
Uh-huh.
And I just said, hey, listen, you can coach your kid. I'm out here coaching all of our kids. He's 7, he's 8 years old. Yes, he should not be standing in the base path. But you're barking up the wrong tree here, pal.
Oh, boy.
We're not doing that. We're not going to embarrass and yell out that you're going to telling your kid to run my kid over. And I said, you picked the wrong kid, especially because that's my kid. And if you know what I mean? Like, and if your kid ran him over, no problem. He's in the way, but you're not going to scream it across the dugout and make a scene by telling your kid who's now on second to run the first baseman over because he's 7 and he doesn't understand that he can't stand on first base on an extra base hit. So that was probably I'm not going to lie, I was pissed. And we handled it. After the game, he came up. We had a nice conversation. No harm, no foul.
Well, what is handling it, though? What is it? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was a good conversation.
Right.
The second, if anything happens between me and another coach, or even me and a parent, right? I'm a big believer when it's over, it's over. I'm not going to drag it on, and we're not going to take it after the game. So after the game, we shake hands on, we line up on the lines. This was before COVID when you're actually allowed to high five and shake hands. And he comes up, he's like, coach, I'm sorry. I said, listen, no need. We're good. I probably would have done the similar thing that you did. I probably just wouldn't have yelled it. I probably would have just said it to my kid in the dugout. But no harm, no foul, man. You were competing hard coaching your kids. I'm going to coach my kids. I'm sure we'll play each other again. No worries. And we go about our day.
Right. Well, technically, he was right, though. I mean,
he was. 100%. He was right.
Good.
The message was right. And I tried to coach it from the prior instance. I didn't love the delivery. You don't need to walk out into the field of play and scream across the diamond to the kid at second that the next time the first baseman's in your way, just run him over. It's just unnecessary.
Do you have any?
A lot of look at me coaches in youth sports.
Do you have any regret though about the word choices? Because it seems like something out of the 80s. You are barking up the wrong tree,
it's perfect,
pal. you're like
No, it's what you say in that spot.
It does seem it is your.
It just came out, man. I don't know where the
it came out perfectly.
Came from. It felt right, and that was it. Again, it was 10 seconds. It was less. It was more about the tone of him trying to say, run a kid over. If you want to coach your kid hard, hold them accountable, I'm all for that. The kids on my teams all understand the way we're going to do it, but I'm not going to yell at your kids. I'm not going to talk to your kids and put them down. I'm not going to yell. We're all responsible for our own kids, and I take great pride in that.
I don't think, as we talk a little bit about your career here, Greg, I don't think that people understand or can understand how hard it is and what it takes to be as excellent as you were at what you do. Can you articulate to the audience what the pain was like, the daily pain, the weekly pain, the off-season pain, the stuff that makes us all marvel that Tom Brady can still do this in his 40s because of how much what you guys do hurts, even though the rules are different on football for Tom Brady than they are for you?
Yeah, I'll be honest. Until my last few years, I didn't really have that experience. My last few years, I broke my 1 foot twice. I ruptured both my plantar fascias. I played with them broke. I played with them ruptured. It was a mess. It was a 24-hour cycle for like 3 years of in season. I would go into the facility, rehab, get through practice, post-practice rehab, preventative stuff, come home. I'd hire a PT. They would come over, we would work, and I'd go to bed and start up the next day. But that really wasn't until the very end of my career. For my first 10, 11 years, I missed 2 games my rookie year. The first 2 games I got dinged up in training camp. I played over 10 years straight without missing. So I was very fortunate to never have anything significant in the injury front. My last few years were a little bit of a grind, and that's when I eventually said, all right, I can't do this anymore.
But wait, what you just described was not a little bit of a grind, Greg. What you just described as ho-hum, my last 3 years were a walking misery of nothing but treating myself so I could keep doing this thing that I love that hurts. Like, that had to be a daily misery. That I don't know how happy you must have been unpleasant to be around. You can't spend 3 years in that particular hell just to get to 16 Sundays and be a happy human being.
Well, remember how we started this conversation when I said that that nature could be very useful for one things, but it also could make you a miserable person during the season. And at times you take it, that's a whole nother conversation. But the one thing I will say is, as annoying as it was and physically demanding and whatnot, it really, the biggest challenge was just how you approached it mentally. And the one thing I will say throughout my entire career, the day-to-day, like, Groundhog's Day of just same thing, routine, order, programming, workouts, off season, OTAs, that part never bothered me. So like the daily, do the same thing, get up at the same time, do the same routine, work out, train, get hurt, start all over the next week. Like that mental approach never bothered me. That was always something I kind of leaned into, because I learned at a very early age down at Miami. Obviously you guys very familiar with the program and what they do. I learned from an early time in Miami that if I didn't find an edge outside of just being big, fast, tall, and run, I wasn't going to make it. So like I needed to know early on that the part that I could embrace and lean into was a way that I could distance myself from everybody else, right? The more physically talented guys than me that weren't willing to do what I was willing to do on a everyday, daily basis was how I survived so long. So I learned that as a freshman at Miami, where I break the huddle and there's 9 first rounders and I'm on the scout team and Sean Taylor's trying to kill me and DJ Williams and Jonathan Vilma and Antrell Roll. And I mean, go up and down the list, Vince Wilfork. I mean, they're all on the same team. And I'm this 18-year-old kid from New Jersey saying, I'm not going to make it here. So I learned really quick, the harder it got, the better I could be. The hotter it was, the harder it was, the more injured everybody was. The end of the season, that was always my time to shine, because that part I never leaned away from. I was never going to win the beauty contest. I was never going to win who looked the best in their uniform. That just wasn't my style. And I knew that. I knew what I was early on and told myself, if you're not willing to do this part that sucks, you're not going to make it.
How many people have you run into in your life, football or otherwise, where you say to yourself, that person has a will that exceeds mine or is equal to mine? Because to get to where you got to with, I'm not going to insult your physical gifts, but you yourself are saying, look, there are any number of people here who are much more athletic at this. So who are the guys you looked at and said, or inside or outside of sports, these people are more willful than I am? Because I can't imagine it happened to you very often.
Yeah, I mean, but there are some guys that you just look at and marvel about just their approach, right? Their willingness to just grind on a daily basis, and it's hard because anytime you say a guy's work ethic and whatnot, we've been programmed to assume that if the first thing you point out is the guy's a hard worker or he's smart he probably is not that talented, right? For whatever reason, we've programmed ourselves that there's two extremes. You're either super elite talented, or you're just like the hard work grinder. The really, really special guys, the Luke Kuechly's of the world, the Christian McCaffreys of the world, those really, really unique guys, Cam Newton, Russell Wilson. I mean, I can go Bobby Wagner, like just guys that I've played with that are elite. They're born with unique gifts. They're extremely talented. They're strong. And if you saw Luke Kuechly in the weight room, if you saw him in a polo shirt, you'd be like, who's that guy? And then when he took his shirt off and you started lifting, you'd be like, wow, like this guy's unbelievable. But his approach, his mentality, his ability to do the same thing every day. Same thing with McCaffrey. Like that's what separates the truly elite guys. And I was not as physically gifted as Cam Newton. I wasn't, his muscles were bigger than mine. He was faster, right? Like I didn't have those unique qualities. So I learned at the University of Miami with Kevin Everett and, Sean Taylor and Antrell Roll. I mean, the guys that I'm trying to compete with in summer conditioning drills, let alone on the field, they were just better than me physically. And I had to find a way that I was willing to embrace the hard part as long as they were, if not longer, in order to just stay with the group,
Let's study your craftsmanship about the position and how much, because you're applying yourself so much to how can I be better than these guys, and just give me some rapid fire answers to some questions about tight ends that I've got. The most athletic tight end that you have seen, just athleticism, is blank.
Kellen Winslow Jr.
And so that was in college. In college where you feel like you don't belong, right? You're like, I can't do this. This person is a lot better than me.
Yeah, he was off the charts athletically.
But still, until this day, that's the guy you're going with.
Yeah, at the tight end position. Yeah.
Okay.
Who awes you the most at that position?
Right now, Kelsey. And I don't say that lightly, because right now in my mind there's like a two-man race with Kelsey and Kittle, right? You'd take either one and you'd be thrilled. The thing that I find that I marvel about Kelsey and what he's done is he's had 6 1,000-yard seasons. Years back in 2016, I got 3, and no one had ever done 3. And it was something I took great pride in. He's now had 6. And the reason that it's so impressive is it's a position. We started, earlier in the conversation, we talked about the ability, the injuries and working through stuff. To be that good, that productive, and that consistently healthy and available and on the field, to be that productive and have over 1,000 yards 6 times in a row, it is remarkable. So I just marvel at not only his skills and his creativity on the field and the way he runs, but just the fact that every weekend he's on the field. That in and of itself is defying the position in most guys' experience. And for that, I think it's just really remarkable what he's been able to do.
It's not a system thing either. He did that with Alex Smith. Some of that was with Alex Smith, so it wasn't just Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, he's just, him and Kittle are very uniquely special, and they both have such unique qualities. And, maybe Kittle puts on that stretch. I mean, at any moment he can. A little different system, not quite as volume-oriented in the passing game for him to put up those kind of numbers. But all things considered, what Kelsey's doing is remarkable.
The quarterback, tight end, accuracy, chemistry combination that I envied was blank.
I mean, I'll tell you, I wouldn't put what Cam and I did behind anyone. I know Gronk and Brady, obviously, the records they share, they did it over maybe a longer period of time. They had maybe a few more years. I ended up getting hurt on the last. But when you looked at Cam and I's 5-6 year run together when we were both healthy and both in there every game, we were at or near the top of almost every production statistic or whatnot. I think overall body of work, when you factor in playoff games and what they've done in the postseason with Super Bowls and whatnot, I mean, Brady and Gronk, what they've been able to do and their connection, there's a reason that Gronk's staying with him, right? And I don't blame him. And they have we called a few of the Tampa games this year, and we talked about it on air. Like, you can't coach what they do. You can't defend and coach the defense against what they do. There's things that they're doing that the only two people on the field who understand what they're going to do and how they're going to do it are the two of them. If you ask Cameron Brate, or if you ask OJ Howard, if you ask anybody on the opposing defense, hey, tell me why no one could tell you. And that's when you're really hard to beat, is when nobody can even tell you why you're productive or why you're good. You just are. It's very hard to figure those guys out.
He's host of a new podcast, You Think, the first podcast from Audiorama. It is a study of youth sports in America. Many of you, he's very good at what he does. It's been a pleasure to see his growth as a broadcaster. Before we get you out of here, though, I'm going to ask you if you look like 1 to 10. You got to rank these. The 10 is the best. 1 is the worst. Greg Olsen looks like He-Man if he moved to Portland and opened a store that sells artisanal jams.
That's one of my all-time favorites. I had the beard and the beanie. That's a really good one. I remember that from years back. That's like a 9. I think that's really good.
Wow.
Greg Olsen looks like the nude art class volunteer who posed for your girlfriend's class and for some reason handed out his card to all the students on the way out.
I don't know if I'd pose nude, but it's still funny. I'd give that like a 6.
Greg Olsen looks like the Swedish masseuse your sexually naive ex-wife begins dating soon after your divorce is finalized.
You like it?
It's probably an 8. It's probably not an insult, right?
It is not, sir. Thank you for being on with us. Stugotz feels obligated to ask you the question we ask all the University of Miami guys. Usually I ask, is that the most fun you've ever had in football? If 1 year, all the pro guys that played at UM say the most fun they ever had was a year at the University of Miami, but Stugotz has a better question.
Is the U back?
I was there yesterday.
Oh, boy.
I'll tell you what. I was there yesterday. I'm in Miami right now. It's the first sunny day since we've been here, and I'm sitting here talking to you guys, so happy to do it. But I'm looking out over the Miami beach right now. So we took the kids over, and we saw Mario. So Mario Cristobal was my tight end coach in college. I've known him since I was in 10th grade in high school. He's a dear friend of mine. If anybody is the guy for that job, and I know we've said this the last 5 head coaches, the U's back. If the U is ever going to be back, there's no one else to do it but Mario. And I sat in his office yesterday, the plans they have for new facilities they're going to announce, the way he's kind of broken down and rebuilt that culture. And all I'm going to say is, for any Miami fans out there, the things that they have down the pipeline that are real, like I'm not saying in 5 years, that are going to be announced in the next couple months, from facilities, indoors, potential new stadiums. I mean, it's full steam ahead, and Mario wouldn't have taken the job if all these things weren't going to be followed through. And I have the utmost confidence in Mario, and I don't know if they're back today, but they're going to be back. And that's just because I have the utmost faith and confidence in Mario and that staff. I mean, the staff he's putting together is incredible.
Why wait a couple months? Let's just announce some of them right now, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I can't do that to him.
You want to come in studio tomorrow? You're in Miami. You want to come in studio?
How are you a couple of blocks from us?
Hey, it's supposed to rain tomorrow.
Are you staying at the Clevelander? Like, how are you just a few feet from here?
No, we're down. We're down on Key Biscayne. So right. we're down to Key Biscayne, and
close.
We got the kids down here for the week on spring break. So the weather's been terrible.
I'm sorry, Greg. Why are you blaming us for this?
What are you guys doing? Because you guys are in Miami. Aren't you supposed to guarantee all of us Northerners?
But it sounds like we're going to see you tomorrow, though, right? I mean, we'll discuss it then.
See you later, Olsen.
All right. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks.
See you, man.
Thank you, Greg.